Welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife. And with fall and school and just everything that's coming, I know it's not fall yet, it's end of summer, but it feels like this is the time of year where everything starts to pick up and get a little bit more crazy. There's a lot to talk about how military life goes in general with this. And my husband recently pointed out to me an article regarding tuition assistance that I want to share because I feel like it will impact a lot of your lives and families directly. I know it's going to impact us. So that's kind of what we're going to dig into today. As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. Okay, so there's just been a lot going on, and things have been busy for us as a family too. This time of year, our congregation it's a military congregation. We do something called Share the Love, where all the families can donate things that they don't need anymore, particularly clothing and small household items that are still in good condition. And they're donated, and then everyone can come and kind of grab what they need, and whatever left over is given to charities. And so I've been helping organize that. But part of organizing that is I have also been going through all of my kids' clothes and finding all the clothes that they have outgrown and don't need that we can pass on to other people. And I'm really grateful. And we make a point of doing this because uh, military life, we don't get paid a whole lot. Like, none of us are getting rich in the military. It's just not going to happen. And especially when you've got multiple kids and you're not getting paid and more just because you have more kids. So you're going to have to make less go further. And we've been so blessed by wonderful people sharing great condition clothes with us for our kids. And so we try to pass that on when we have stuff that's in good condition to other people. We were really blessed with a surprise little baby girl that we had wonderful friends who gave us stuff for baby because we had given all of our stuff to other military families because you have limited space when you move from place to place. So that's one thing that's been going on. Of course, school has started, and getting the kids back to school, you know, uniforms because my kids are doing uniforms this year, all the school supplies, sorting through all that sort of stuff. It's a thing, and it's a thing that a lot of families go through on a regular basis. And that kind of just leads all into what I kind of am going to talk about today. Not kind of, what I am. What I am talking about today. Let's be a little more assertive. Okay. So last week, my husband, I don't know if y'all doom scroll, but we sometimes doom scroll on our phones, and we try to call each other out on it when we're doing it, especially during family time. We want to be present for family time. And my husband was doom scrolling, like he was really fixed in on something he was reading. And I'm like, "Hey, honey, put that down. We're having family time." And he's like, "Actually, you want me to read this?" And I'm like, "What's it about?" He's like, "Yeah, there's a shortage on tuition assistance. I got to read this article." And I'm like, so, for all of you who don't know, one of the huge recruiting things, or at least it was a big deal for us as a family, because part of the reason why my husband switched to active duty military, became active duty military, was because we were starving college students with a kid. And not starving, but we were definitely low income and struggling to, provide for a family and finish our college education. I had just finished mine. My husband was working on his. And so we joined the military partly because of tuition assistance. He would have a job that would pay, we'd have insurance, and our housing would be covered, and he would be able to still work on his degree. And that was a huge plus for us. The other great thing about being in the military is the degree he was working on when we first got in is not the one he's doing now. He was really working on that degree and he realized he just didn't love it. It wasn't what he wanted to do for his his job, his career. And so we had the ability to switch. Um, and he's now pursuing something he loves a lot more, and he's really close to finishing. So we've been really grateful for the Army education system, for the certificate programs he's been able to be a part of, for the tuition assistance program and having his tuition covered, and just the fact that he's been able to get his degree with little to no out of pocket expense on our part as a family. And that's just helped us provide for our children better. And so this is not part of the GI program. A lot of people think that of this Army educational assistance and they think of the GI program. The GI program, the GI Bill covers educational expenses after the individual has separated from the military. So for veterans, or for the children of veterans, you have the ability, and this is something that's not widely publicized and needs to be better publicized. But basically, and I believe it's about 4 years or so before you get out of the military, you need to switch your benefits over to your children, and then your children can use them if you're not going to use them. I think it's 4 years. But anyway, not everyone knows that. And so then their kids aren't able to use it. And that's unfortunate. Um, but while you are in the military, there's a lot of opportunities for higher education. There's a military education system where you can get certificate programs and training and things like that. My husband has utilized that extensively, and it has saved us a lot of money. Because some of these certificates are quite expensive, and we have luckily not had to pay for. I think we only had to pay for one of them. The rest he's been able to get for free. And they're very condensed courses when you do it through the military. And so it's not easy. And so I'm just really, really grateful. A lot of people end up having to teach themselves the material over the space of several years because they can't afford to take a class and then pay for the certification test. And so we've been really blessed in that regards. But the thing that my husband ran into that was quite shocking was an article that he found on military.com. And the headline for the article reads, Army Reserve Education Benefits Collapse halts fall semester enrollment. And basically what has happened is that the Army Reserve, and so this is very specific to Army Reserve. If you are active duty or you are not Army Reserve, you're probably not running into these issues. However, they were saying that the Guard is having some difficulties too. So, gonna just kind of break this down. The Reserve allocated $20 million for tuition assistance this year. The issue is they've had 40 million people try to apply for it or use it. And so they've had issues where people are getting notified that, hey, we're out of money. Sorry, we can't cover. And they're trying to reallocate more money to it, but that is not happening in time for some people, especially with fall semester starting right now. And it's a major recruiting tool. That is a huge reason why people join the reserves or join the military like we did for these educational benefits and this educational assistance, because getting a higher education can be really expensive. So the scholarship or the program covers $250 per credit hour or up to $4,500 per academic year. And like I said before, it's completely separate from the GI Bill. So if I'm understanding this correctly, though, the GI Bill for reservists requires that they still do long periods of active duty service. So they do deployments and whatnot to be able to use it. And that's a gray area we have not had to reach or cover. And so it's not a factor that I'm really familiar with. But there is an issue right now because deployments in general are decreasing, official deployments. There are still deployments happening, but they're not happening to conflict areas that are recognized. Like, for example, Afghanistan's not a thing anymore. Iraq is wrapping up. There's just not a lot of deployment zones that are happening more and more, with the global war on terror just being revised. So that means that with them being short, like literally 50% short, versus supply and demand with tuition, this fall, they have had to halt payments for some students. And there was no announcement. There was no warning that this was going to happen. People just started getting told, and that's why this is making news now. There was no heads up, hey, we've exceeded our limit, or we're approaching our limit, or anything. And that's really frustrating because, again, like I said, military families, we're not flush for cash. Reservists may, depending on what their civilian job is that supplements their reserve status, um, be a little bit better off in some cases, but that's not always the case. And so getting a surprise email saying, "Hey, actually, no, they didn't even get emails. They just got told, "Hey, by the way, we can't cover it." They, so yeah, no email was sent out to these reservists. No social media warning, no announcement, no public announcement, no nothing, no heads up was given, and that's huge. Specifically, there was one reservist who they stated he was just informed, and he's literally like a semester away from graduation, that he's gonna have to pay for it over $3,000 out of pocket all by himself just to finish. And I don't know about you, but we don't tend to have thousands of dollars just sitting around, waiting for a rainy day for us to use it for those things. We do have savings for emergencies and stuff, but coming up with thousands of dollars, just out of the clear blue air, is not feasible for a lot of these families. So there are efforts right now. They're trying to figure some things out, but there's also been issues in regards to the Army National Guard. They've had to halt payments for their student loan repayment program. Oh, yeah, it's like 2 years behind. Yeah. Yep. I'm looking at it. I'm double checking my notes because I hate to ever give you guys bad information. Yeah. So the Army National Guard has halted payments for the student loan repayment program. And it's 2 years behind on helping pay students' debts. And it's incredible. Oh, so everybody, I've heard there's been a lot in the news lately about people wanting debt forgiveness and student loan forgiveness. And the government was going to try to repay all these student loans for people, which sounds fantastic for sorry, for the individuals who have incurred these debts. Okay, number one, they were never promised that when they started. When they started college and they took these loans, it was with the understanding that they were going to have to pay them back. Unlike with the military, when they got in, they were told, hey, we'll help you with your education. It's going to get covered. And so there was no promise ahead of time to these people. And it's not happening, which the government can't pay off everyone's debts. But the trade off with the military is, hey, serve your country, we'll help you get a better education. And so there's a give and take. You're doing something. Yes, you're getting paid for your service, but you're not getting paid top market rates. So the fact that there is some sort of compensation or assistance given is part of the arrangement. It's part of the commitment and the promise that's being made to these families. And now that it's not being fulfilled, and granted, this is not military wide, it's not everyone, it's reservist and guard, but still, this was a promise made that's not being kept. Then for the government to turn around and say, oh, we're going to try to forgive everybody, that's just a little suspect. Why are you doing that? Why are you even saying that? Is that even a promise? Is that even possible? And it turns out it wasn't even possible. It wasn't even feasible. And it was a hollow promise. And I would hate to see the tuition assistance program or some of these other programs that have been promised from the get go as part of the recruitment process to our service members to go unfulfilled because of mm, not enough resources or whatever, or because they're paying off for paying things that I don't know, paying for things that were not promised. So it's complicated. Overall, I wanted to make you guys aware of the situation because it's not being widely publicized. It is affecting people and affecting people out of the clear blue. If you are part of the Army Reserve or the Army National Guard, which tend to be, as far as I can tell, the two organizations that are having these difficulties at this time, and you are in school, you might want to start saving money or when you get your tax refund this next spring, set it aside and keep it saved just on the offhand that you are going to have to cover your tuition because it looks like those sorts of things might be coming up. Also, the other thing is, you may be qualify for a Pell Grant. This is something that people don't always take into consideration when they have these tuition assistance programs or other educational assistance programs, that the Pell Grant still may apply to you. And if especially you're getting your bachelor's and whatnot, a Pell Grant can help defray the cost of those educational expenses. So, heads up, save money for your next semester just in case we have a repeat of this. Hopefully, it won't happen. And I will try to keep an eye on this and let you all know if there are any updates in regards to the tuition assistance situation for the reservists and the Guard members. And also apply for Pell Grants. Get on there. It's probably not still too late to apply for the fall semester. If you are one of the individuals in the reserve who are not going to be able to get your tuition covered through the program because of the fund shortage, get on, fill out a Pell Grant. There might be scholarships or other things. I know that the tuition assistance is the easy, quick way to handle this. You're going to probably have to put in a little more legwork, looking for scholarships and or Pell Grant or other options to help defray the cost of your semester. It would just be tragic for someone to be like the one individual who was cited in the article, so close to graduation and unable to continue with the semester because of insufficient funds personally. That said, I hope with back to school, whether it's college and education for yourself or back to school for kiddos or whatever you're doing, that it's all working out swimmingly for you. Personally, I was raised with the philosophy that you should be a lifelong learner. So whether you are engaged in a uh, structured academic situation like a school or university, or you're just picking up a new hobby and teaching yourself something fun this fall, I wish you the best with your endeavors. I am currently working on a few such projects myself and trying to get back into a few things otherwise. I have spent quite a bit of the summer reading fun books. I am kind of a bookworm, as you all know, and I can't wait to do my annual books in review, and tell you all about the fun things I read this summer when I should have been reading other stuff. But sometimes you want to read something that's intellectually stimulating, and sometimes you just want to read something fun. And I go back and forth between the two. So that's just me in general. But for all of you guys who are homeschooling, especially, good luck with those programs. I am still working on putting together a homeschooling episode with a panel of responses from homeschoolers who are military families. If you are interested, I've realized that doing a live recording with multiple homeschooling moms while they're trying to homeschool, probably not the most efficient idea. So I'm going to probably switch it to sending out the questions and getting their responses and reading the responses back to you all. And hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. I've got some other cool projects coming down the works for y'all. And of course, we just had our first see you at the library reading event where I shared some books and we did some activities, and I had my deployment checklist that I had put together available for parents. And I really love my deployment checklist, and that's one of my favorite things to give out at events, whether it's the webinars or the in-person event that just happened with See You at the Library. So that's what's going on here. It is definitely heading towards fall, which means things are going to start picking up again. I always say that as if like the last season of my life was so chill, and yet it just feels like I go from crazy to crazy. Maybe y'all do too. Let me know. Send me a message saying, "Yep, it's just always crazy in my world. This is what I've got going." I'd love to hear from you. And always, I do get these emails and I do look at them. It takes a little longer to arrange some of these topics. Keep sending me topics of things you are listening to or interested in or want me to cover or would like to know more about. If there is an article or anything that you think would be beneficial for me to get the news out about to other military families, like this whole thing with the tuition assistance issue, please, please keep sending them to me. I love it. I love hearing from you guys. And I really do work on those episodes. I really do work on those concepts. It might take a little longer and feel like you're not being heard, but you are being heard. Life just gets crazy for me, as it probably does for you. So, with all of that said, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you have been listening to Life of a Military Wife.